All right. And with that last bit of my pretzel, we're starting episode 3 of the Oil Hour. It's been a big week in the league. A lot has happened, especially on the trade front. So, without further ado, we're going to go to Zerger, who just completed a trade in the AFC with Rowe. He's got low battery life, so he's going to join us right at the beginning here. Zerger, what happened with your trade?
Well, I've been kind of badgering back and forth with Rowe all season, trying to get a running back from him. And today, I think he realized that he needed a receiver. However, at first he wanted Nate Washington and Johnson just for Bryant, who's coming off suspension in week 4. And I told him I couldn't do that because he was taking a running back from me that was starting. So after much of cussing and discussing, I ended up getting Bryant and Shane Vereen, which should be able to help me out since I lost a starter. And I'm really not gaining anything receiver-wise because Nate Washington was kind of been just sitting on my bench, hanging out, waiting for a bye week. However, once Bryant comes off suspension, I think he'll be a big key to the offense. When
You're
people
talking about Martavis Bryant.
Yes. Once he comes off suspension, hopefully Michael Vick will be able to get the ball to him. That still remains to be seen. So right now, the trade is a wash, and we won't really know the outcome of the trade for a few more weeks, whether who got the good deal or who got the bad deal.
Yeah, well, looking at your roster, and give me just a second here so we can get to it. Okay. So you probably can't see this if you're on your phone, Zerger, but
I can see it.
Okay. So that'll leave you with Shane Vereen and Justin Forsett at running back. You gave up Nate Washington, and you got back Martavis Bryant. So he'll be on your bench one more week, and Deshaun Jackson maybe as well. But you've got a lot of guys coming back. Once Breeze gets back, your whole bench is pretty much injured or suspended. So you got a pretty good team, and you'll add Drew Brees, Deshaun Jackson, Andre Ellington, Julius Thomas, and Martavis Bryant to it. So.
Right. And Julius Thomas went to his specialist today, and he had no news to report, so he's just waiting to get cleared. Hopefully in a week or two he'll be playing and helping Blake Bortles out down in Jacksonville. And then what's going to be interesting is what's going to happen with Ellington, because they kind of have a three-headed monster down in Arizona right now with Chris Johnson, Ellington, and Derek Johnson, running back-wise.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of what happens there.
So, I mean, there could be a trade coming in real life in the NFL there, or they could just ride a three-headed monster kind of like Dallas is doing right now, which worked out well for them in the first half.
Yeah, and coming into the season, I liked Rowe's roster. He's had, I didn't like his quarterback, but he had 3 tough losses, so he's sitting at 0-3. He had to make a move. I don't love the move long term, but it's a gamble. He's got to get something in the short term going because he can't afford to go 0-4.
Yeah, that's what he talked to me about. He really wanted a shot at Musselman this week. He doesn't want to lose and start 0-4. He's kind of wary if he even has a chance at the playoffs at this point. But I just want to throw it out there that the pre-draft grades aren't always what everybody thinks they are, and they're not always correct because, there's just certain things that you can't plan for.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So, and I'm trying to actually shop Drew Brees right now to see if anybody wants to take him off my hands. But it's gonna have to be for the Drew Brees. Well, in a few weeks, I think he'll be healthy, and I think the offense will get back on track. I don't. You do?
Lynn, why are you showing us your chin?
It looks like his chin's on fire.
No.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, do you have a wide receiver that you'd like to offer up for Drew Brees? I actually sent Mark Fitzgerald a pretty interesting trade. He's supposed to get back with me tonight. That could be really big for me if he chooses to go through with it, but I don't think he will.
Yeah. Lynn, you don't need to trade any of your receivers.
And I'm still shopping Rudolph too. I'd like to get Rudolph off my lineup once Thomas becomes healthy. So he's open for maybe a RB3 or a wide receiver 5.
Yeah. Well, you probably won't get a whole lot for him, but I mean you understand that.
Right.
But I like the trade you did today. We'll let you go after that since your battery looks like it's dying.
It is. There's Duffy's favorite person.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, and next week I'll be able to stay on longer. I'll make sure I'm at home.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. And I would love to talk about the past weekend and the future preview next week. Looking forward and playoff standings for the AFC.
Yeah. Well, it's a long season.
It is.
All right, we got plenty of time.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe.
Yep,
All right.
take it easy.
All right. Bye.
Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
Okay. And then there were 3.
Is there any viewers? Or is it just us?
There's 1 viewer, but there will be. This will be archived, and that's how most people will listen to it. As long as we've got you on, Lynn, we might as well just go ahead and look at your matchup. I guess we're starting in the AFC tonight.
I have not looked at that this week. I don't even know who I'm fighting. Or playing, as it were.
You say fighting?
Yeah. It's like a fight. Whoa, what's up with that? Hey, why does that tab say pocket pussies? What are you buying, Clyburn?
Okay, so you're playing Neely's Hooligans this week.
Oh, man, that's a hard one.
No, it's not.
Oh, are you sure?
I'm
I
sure.
always think it's going to be hard. They always look like they have better players than me.
Well, he's got Tom Brady on a bye.
So, okay, he's on bye. Great.
He'll be starting Russell
Wilson
instead.
Yeah.
He'll get Eddie Lacy and Alshon Jeffrey back. Carlos
Jeffrey-
Williams, actually.
Yeah, and you know what? He doesn't have to start Russell Wilson. He's got Flacco against a pretty bad Pittsburgh secondary.
Yeah, and he's got Carlos Williams on the bench along with Eddie Lacy. If he actually updates his lineup, he
Let's
never
not-
has a chance.
Let's not tell him. Let's just keep quiet about it.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, we're all about parity and fairness.
I like to tell people after the game starts.
Lynn, you've got Crockett Gilmore in a flex position. He is not going to be playing.
Well, I haven't looked at it really much. You know, it's still Thursday. I look at what I got. So
This is not what you like to hear from a first-place team.
No. So, speaking of first place, how does it feel to be in first place, Lynn?
Well, I'm kind of amazed that this has happened. Honestly, I really thought I was going to lose last week. I knew I was going to win the first week because I was playing the Cox, and I knew I was going to beat them. Honestly, I'm good enough to be able to tell I was going to win. How do I do this? So I was going to win that one. The second one, I thought would be close, but in the end, I felt pretty solid about it. This last one, I was no chance. I had Matt, or not Matt Jones, but James Jones, mediocre receiver who's done a couple of good things. What the shit? How did that happen?
Well,
But it did.
It all started with a torn ACL.
yeah, Aaron Rodgers has got 7 years of chemistry with him.
Yeah.
So, really quickly, we start with Lynn. You're number 1. Reed, the commissioner, Sawtooth is number 2. At 3, we've got last week's number 1, Brosh, the Vultures. I spoke to Brosh yesterday, and he was pretty pissed off that he lost last week. The only reason he lost was his quarterback got injured, Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
So, I still think he's the favorite in this league. Behind him, you've got Fitzgerald and Steel Rain at number 4. Green and his Doughboys are number 5. Hillier is number 6. So that, if the season ended today, those would be your playoff teams. Then you've got Zerger's Redlegs, Nye of the Warm Bodies. Muscleman's Mutinous Apes is actually a pretty good team. They've got 486 points, 1 and 2.
Sorry, my wife's getting mad that I'm not talking to her. I have to.
Well, okay. By all means, go talk to your wife.
She's making rude comments to me about talking on my cell phone the whole time we're at dinner.
Well, it is kind of rude of you.
I thought it would be rude to ignore my friends. I thought that would be rude.
Well, you can't do both.
I know. So who do I be rude to right now?
Be rude to your friends. You don't live with us.
And you guys don't give me blowjobs.
You need more.
All right. Well, thanks for the mention. I gotta go, but it was nice talking to you guys again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know how to turn this off.
I'll eject you.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's going to make for great audio.
Yeah, actually, it may be easier to understand with the audio only because I don't know what it looked like on your screen, but it was absolute chaos on my end.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, I would not recommend that anyone calls into the podcast while at dinner with your wife and child.
Right.
That's not going to go over very well with her or us, really.
Sure. That would be this week's version of our "Come on, man."
Yeah. While we're at it, maybe don't call in from the gym.
Yeah. Although I will give him credit for some at least he talked football at an acceptable level from the gym.
Yeah. Without being able to look at his roster and everything right away, I'm sure he looked kind of weird to some people. But, props for calling in. I know the audio was bad with so many people, but he traded with Rowe. It's one of those classic trades where if you look at it from his point of view, long term, you can't argue that this is a good trade long term, but you can argue that it's a gamble that if these guys hit, he can get a short term boost, a shot in the arm and get out of this rut. He is 0-3 right now. He's last in the league, which means he's not won a game and has the fewest points against. But the fewest points for, but the points against him are 524.
Yeah, he's played the toughest teams every week, so it would seem.
By far. Looking at this there's nobody else in the 500s. Nye only has 2 more points than Rowe, but his points against is 378. So on 150 fewer against him. So that will definitely skew the records. Rowe just hasn't caught a break, and so he made this trade with Zerger. I approved it. I saw the reasoning. There's no collusion going on, and that's that. So
I think if you want to get down, I think Rowe was the short term and Zerger was the long term here. Rowe was 0-3. It'd be easy to be down on Vereen right now after last week, that is. So, and I get it. I have him on my team. But Bryant is not doing him any good right now. And so for a guy that's 0-3 and doesn't want to wait, it makes sense to get 2 guys that may not be the best starters, but they're better than what you have on the bench as far as a guy that's suspended and your other options. And you weren't going to go pick up Duke Johnson and Nate Washington off the wire. So I get what Rowe's doing here, but I think 5 weeks from now we're going to say Zerger won this trade, not only because he started off in better shape, and really that's what it's going to come down to, but he got the 2 players with the most upside out of the 4, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Rowe's not under any illusion here. He knows that, this is only a short-term fix, and Zerger at 2-1 can afford this long-term gamble. And it's really not that long-term. I mean, Rowe's the one that really put in the work here. He drafted Bryant and kept him on the bench for 3 weeks, just as dead weight. And
I'm not so sure about that. I believe I'm co-managers with Zerger. I think Zerger had a waiver claim in for Bryant at one point. So I think Rowe picked Bryant up.
Okay, so either way,
he knew what he was trying to do.
Okay, so in that case,
it makes your point even stronger.
Yeah. So Rowe knew what was going on. I'm sure he's not extremely excited, but props to him for doing something. So often when people start out 0-3, they get really discouraged and basically quit participating.
Right.
That's not happened here, and I really don't foresee it happening in the oil.
So let me just say that it was Musselman that drafted Martavius Bryant and dropped him back on September 9th. And he lasted until, wow, there's a lot of activity in this league. The 16th. So Martavius Bryant sat on waivers available for 7 days before he became a member of Rebel Alliance.
You there?
Yeah. What happened there?
It said there was an error and kicked me out.
Okay. What was the last thing you heard me say? It was just, okay, I'll be quick. On the 9th, Musselman, who drafted Martavius Bryant, dropped him, and he sat on waivers for 7 days before he became a member of Rebel Alliance.
Okay.
So, good job, Rowe, for snagging him up and turning him into something usable right now instead of settling for a less than mediocre guy out there on the free agent world.
Yeah. Kudos to him. I got disconnected. I don't know how. It said there was an error. And so now that I am back in the Hangout, I'm now in as me and not the oil. I don't know how that works.
Okay, I showed down at the bottom there's an Oklahoma Iraqi icon with no picture in it. and it shows we are still live.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully it all works out. Let me go ahead and get back to the screen sharing. Okay. Well, I don't think that I can screen share.
Well, I saw the screen trying to do something. Are you sure you're on the right Google tab? Are you logged in under 2 different accounts?
Let me see here.
Anybody that's listening to this later on, just understand that we used to use Blog Talk Radio as our platform. And it was very user-friendly as far as audio went, but it did not allow us to video chat without the help of Skype, which came with its own problems when you tried to combine the two worlds. Google Hangouts lets you do everything all in one place. However, since we're so new to it, it's kind of like a toy with a lot of buttons, and we don't know what all the buttons do yet. So bear with us. I see Justin, he sees me. However, he's logged in as his individual self now and not the oil account. So we're just trying to navigate our way through that. And I guess while Justin plays with it, I can try to make do here. Without the visual, and I apologize for that, we can come back here to the matchups. We're talking about the AFC. And this week, Zerger's Redlegs are going to match up against the negligent discharges. That must be Schuster's team. So quick glance on the projection says this is Schuster's game to win. And when I see Aaron Rodgers against anybody, I'd like to say that that's true. However, Beckham Jr., Mike Wallace, and Beasley, that's nothing to sneeze at. And by the way, let me pause here. Are you surprised at it's Terrence Williams for the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Are you surprised as the quote-unquote #1 guy last week that he had 0 catches? Or is this just a case where the defense shut down the #1 and they made it work in other ways?
I'm surprised. I'm not shocked. I think that Terrence Williams is not who we want him to be, if that makes sense.
So this isn't a case where Victor Cruz goes down and Odell Beckham Jr. steps up. This is a case where Dez Bryant went down and that guy who is exactly who we thought he was, a wide receiver 3, has those shoes to fill, and he's just not going to quite fill them. And it doesn't help probably that he's got Brandon Weeden behind center. Maybe Tony Romo could have made him look a little better, but it looks like if you are the owner of a Randall or a Dunbar or a McFadden, and maybe in Zerger's case, a Beasley, that you're the benefactor of that injury situation right now. But, they've got a good matchup next week. New Orleans understands, I think, that their secondary is poor, and that's an area that they need to draft and develop and improve on. But as for right now, it's a quarterback's wet dream to go play the Saints, the Steelers, or I think I'm missing a really obvious one with a bad secondary. But, you on the other side, you got Bolden, Randall, and Cooper. That's nothing to sneeze at. Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard, I still don't like that. Against Forsett and Vereen, I'd have to say that's going to work in Zerger's favor. Vernon Davis against a surprisingly good Packers defense. I see you picked them up. I guess you're a believer now.
Well, Miami got me -4 points last week. So,
I think Leslie was having the Miami Dolphins defense blues. Is that who you had?
Yeah.
Yeah.